that have never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
And then put me up. There you go. I'm talking to myself. Find the right one. There we go. Knew I'd find it eventually. How are you, folks? How was your weekend? Did you put in a good one? Was it relaxing in some way, shape, or form? We're still here, so I gather that there's not been a lot of the predictions that were made over the last couple of weeks that have come true, at least in any real sense that most people would consider evidence, me being primarily amongst them. So where does that leave us? Well, not to be despondent. This is not, well, it's not a few things. It's not real would be probably the main thing. So reacting to something that's not real is probably borderline insane, but we have been brought up to react in many and very different ways, and doing nothing is not something we're good at doing. Well, unless it actually, this is where it's going to get weird, unless we actually get off our ass and do something, then nothing is going to change. And many of you, I'm preaching to the converted, God love you. Spazza, who was first in the room tonight, when I set it up, and mate, you were quick in too, because I set the room up at 5:18 my time, and it says you were in at 5:21. So well done, Tony. Only beaten by seconds, I can say. We had a nice long chat this morning, and I haven't had a chance to speak with Sandy about that idea yet, Tony. But I will make every effort to do that. Hopefully in the next day or two. The lovely Michelle, I hope you are doing well, and life, the universe in your part of the world of Victoria is not too taxing, although I think everywhere in Victoria is very taxing at the moment. And I think I've got a little something, yes I do, a little something for Victorians coming up in the near future. Been a lot of interesting actions taking place in Victoria. We'll have to get Wade on for another bit of a chat. I'm not sure that he's been to all of them, but I'm sure he's been to some of them, and we'll be going to a lot more. And if you have some time off later this month, well, very soon at the end of this month, to be honest, we'd love to see you in Canberra. Now, Wade has called for a number of influencers, wrong thing. Alt media is, I think, the best way to describe a lot of what we do. Has asked for all of us to turn up at Canberra on the day that the parliamentarians return for the final sitting weeks of Parliament for 2015. This is a time where they're going to start ramming through a great deal of legislation that the people don't agree with, and the government, because it has the numbers, will silence debate, as it has been shown it will do time and time again. They've done it last year at this time in the House of Representatives, and they forced stuff through to the Senate, and then thankfully, through the efforts of the likes of Malcolm Roberts and others, it was pushed back eventually, or changed, amended. But now we've seen it come back again in a different guise too. And there are so many different things being pushed through right at the very end of this sitting period, including, but not limited to, the digital ID farce for anybody under 16. Now, I've got to admit, I don't have any under 16s in my life at the moment, in or around me. So therefore, I don't have anybody that is affected by it to actually ask, how do you feel about this? I don't have anybody young in my life, like little kids or family members or anything with that. They're all much older. So I'm wondering if you can help, because you've probably got kids or grandkids that you can ask, or that this is directly affecting. And is it directly affecting them? Because I would have thought we would hear a lot more of the teenage angst one expects for having something taken off them, particularly if they've had access to it for, let's say, well, if they're 15 now or 16 now, they've probably been on having access to social media or been aware of it for the last 5 or 6 years. And their parents may or may not be involved with social media stuff as well. So some of the kids admittedly are very, very savvy. There are some kids out there, pardon me, I'm not sure how many of them are Australian, but I know a few American kids who are making quite a lot of money through their social media sponsorships, more than any return you get out of the likes of YouTube and, certainly Rumble. And that was explained to me today, why it is. In fact, there are probably a few reasons, but one of the bigger reasons about capped revenue, or why revenue is falling and falling significantly for the likes of YouTube, is that they created for themselves a bit of a monster, and they created people who could create a lot of content, a lot of good content very quickly and make money from it. And that's where some people in the early times were able to generate enough interest, enough likes, subs and whatnot to generate a phenomenal income out of it. And that has set them up for life. That's not possible anymore. You would have to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 million views before you got anything like $1 million in a month. So that kind of thing is very hard to keep generating. But you see the likes of Mr. Beast and, name any other YouTuber you watch. These days, they've got some form of sponsorship from a business helping them go forward. So that is obviously a model that Vince and I are going to be looking at for FBN moving forward. And I guess if there's anybody that wants to sponsor the Voice of Freedom, we're always happy to hear from you. The likes of Ainsley Bullion, of course, we are eternally grateful for, because without their support, we would have shut the doors a long time ago, and I'd probably be driving trucks or buses or bloody limos again, maybe. God, I hope not. Although I don't think there's much money in driving limos anymore, and I refuse to drive Uber for a variety of reasons. I did drive Uber for a while, just to see what it was like, and I could do it on my own terms, but it became problematic when people didn't want to get out of the car, and especially drunks. And Uber, you make the most money at night, particularly over the weekends, and I found it to be a real problem, because you're out till 3 o'clock in the morning picking up people who are not really generally at their best. And I had it happen to me a couple of times where somebody lived at one address on one side of town, and the other person or three that got in the car lived on the other side of town. They all thought they were getting the one ride for the one thing. And this one guy in particular didn't want to get dragged, or didn't want to get out of the car until he got dragged, essentially. So I'm getting too old to be dragging people out of cars and carrying on. So couldn't be bothered doing any of that. So we need to look down that road. And I'm particularly interested in a coffee business. Are there any businesses that do? I know we don't grow much by way of coffee here in Australia, but we do a lot of blending. And there is a number of mobile coffee companies, if you like, that have mobile trailers that, coffee is poured from at different events and such. So we might be able to help with venues for that sort of thing. And and promotion, obviously, of the coffee. If it's any good, I've got to admit, I am not a big coffee connoisseur, but I know a bad one when I have one. I guess we all do that. Crunch, I can do Uber Eats. Okay, so one of the issues with Uber Eats is that the best money you will make around Uber Eats is in high-density, high-rise areas. And that's great, except Peter, I'm going to get back to your statement. It's great because you don't have far to travel. However, there is no parking. And you've got to go and run up to the door somewhere. And if the person asks you to come into the building and up to the 47th level, turn left at the pink door and turn right, knock on the one at the end of the corridor and run back again, you're leaving your car somewhere, not close generally, unless you are extremely lucky or you have very tolerant parking inspectors. And Brisbane isn't known for their tolerant parking inspectors. So, to be honest, when you're in a limo, it's much easier. You can double park for a reasonable amount of time before police come along or somebody gets too upset. I mean, obviously you don't block traffic needlessly, but if your person that you're picking up is having a conversation on the side of the road and the footpath out in front of the hotel that you're picking them up from, and they're sort of saying goodbye and you've got to pull up there because there's nowhere else, then yeah, you can do it and get away with it. Whereas in a car that just looks like your car with a little Uber sticker in the back window can attract a bit more attention and a lot more abuse. Not up for that. Pete, what is this? Carl, you could drive a tractor and chase a bin all year round here. Lots of 50-plus-year-olds because they don't want a reckless kid. Well, listen, Pete, I might take you up on that. In the last few days, while we've been helping Keith out, and when there's been some terrible rainstorms and all that sort of stuff, I've been watching. I don't know how it turned up on my feed, but YouTube decided to feed me a channel called the Jackson Brothers, and these guys own huge. Well, I don't know if they own all the properties. I think they do. Huge cropping interests, I think, somewhere in Western New South Wales or northwestern New South Wales, might be up near Moree. And I've been watching them with headers, going through different sorts of crops, wheat, barley, chickpeas. They set a header on fire with chickpeas. Who knew? They also had to replace a header's engine, which is essentially how I found them. That was an amazing job. They replaced this friggin' engine inside. I'd never seen the inside of a header before. Always interested me how they worked. So, yeah, that one had me hooked for an hour. I watched that whole video. And they replaced the engine in this New Holland header. I was amazed. So, in answer to your question, I would love to drive a chaser bin. And can I say, from December 25, or say December 26, my services are available. If anybody needs somebody to drive a truck, I have an HR license. I can drive. No, I can't. I've got an HR license, so it's got to be a rigid truck. So I can drive trucks with bins on them, but I can also drive tractors. I have experience with tractors. I've never done a chaser bin, but I've watched enough videos about it now that I understand the process and how it works. And I'll bring a lot of X39 patches because I don't know how the seat will go. Might have to wear a bra as well, just between you, me, and the gatepost. But yeah, after December 26th, I'm up for that. Would love the idea, to be honest. And one of my greatest, fondest memories of long-distance driving, myself and two mates were asked by a tow truck company here on the East Coast to take 3 trucks to Perth because they were going to open a West Australian branch. And I was ready for a holiday from limo driving at the time. And my mate rang just at the right time. He worked for this tow truck company. and said, "Oh, you feel like driving to Perth?" Yes, that's exactly what I feel like doing. Not having to talk to anybody, drive, see the world, and have somebody else pay the fuel for it. I thought that was a bloody great idea at the time. And as it turned out, it was quite the adventure, but we treated it not like a race, but we didn't mess about. We didn't stop and see the sights or anything like that. We tore us over there and tore us back again. But I have to say, one of the standout memories of that journey, which was about, it was October. We were in Broken Hill on Bathurst weekend, and I watched the start of Bathurst from the Port Augusta super cheap auto, where I had to buy a new CB radio because the one I had in the bus truck thing wasn't working. So watched it there. It's weird the things you remember. But going across those South Australian plains, heading for Western Australia, and indeed we headed up to Kalgoorlie at one point, and then from Kalgoorlie down to Perth through that wheat area, that wheat belt, there's a name for it, I can't think of it. And we saw 11 headers in one field with, chaser bins practically for every one of them. And they were mowing through this beautiful, I gather it was wheat. It was just, could have stopped and taken a picture, but didn't. So got to get better at stopping and taking pictures of things like that, because they were going up sort of this hill as well. It was just one of the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen. Visions I've seen, and really Australian, I thought. But shit, 11 headers in one paddock, and you couldn't see the boundary of the paddock. It was thousands of acres. So, but very happy to go and give that a go. Anybody interested? Well, Pete, people, people who know people and know my people. So between your people and my people, our people can talk. I won't be available in May, though, at least for the first couple of weeks, because on May the 4th, I expect everybody to be dressed up as a Wookiee or an Ewok or Princess Leia. I'm personally coming as Jabba the Hutt, because we're going to be climbing aboard the good ship Lollipop, or I don't even know its name, and going on our 4-day cruise, which will head from Brisbane up to Airlie Beach, where no doubt we will have quite a party, and then head back again and have another party on the way back again. Now, because most of us that will be travelling will be of a certain age, that partying may not consist of copious amounts of alcohol, but for some it might. Me, on the other hand, I'm going to say no. But what I say and what I do, what do they say? What happens on the water stays on the water. It won't be anything like that. I am encouraged, though. I've been hinting at musicians and putting together some sort of little event. I've relocated again. We've got Keith and his place sorted, and I think the deal with Keith was he sold the house and had a stroke he had 3 weeks left to get out, basically. And he had a stroke at the head of that 3rd week, and he needed a bit of help to get a lot of stuff off his land. So house cleared today, and everything finalised today. So I'm really happy for him, and he and Carleen will be able to go and do the things that they wish to do, and getting better, having a bit of a rest after this big move and after the stroke. It was only a small one, but even still, you've got to be careful of these things. Watch your blood pressure, lose a bit of weight. Isn't it all the things we've all got to do? So God bless him. He is a wonderful man, and he fixed the water leak in the bus. No problems at all. He also fixed my hydraulic issues, which was wonderful. And we've still got a bit of an issue with the steps, but that's because I'm not brave enough to do my own wiring just yet. Because if I pull the wrong wire from here and stick it in the wrong hole from there, we're likely to get a little bit of smoke, possible flames, and shortly an insurance claim that's likely to be denied, mainly because I don't have it insured at the moment. So got to get it registered before you can insure it, I suppose. No, you don't, I guess. So at any rate, that's the current state of affairs. And yes, open for a bit of travelling, and if I can drive a tractor for someone and pick up some grain, dump it off somewhere, very happy to do it. I could do do shows live from the tractor. Yes, I could. I don't know how they're going to like me attaching. I'd have to get a new iPad because the old one's buggered, but I'd have to get an iPad and attach it to a window somewhere so I can still do the research that I need to do, so that I can bring you a bit of a show, which is, interestingly, my new hosts have discovered today. I've seen them twice. Once, about 10 o'clock this morning when I put my awning out, and once about half an hour before the show got going. So I tend to sit around and it looks like I do nothing. But, tonight I've managed to talk for 22 minutes about nothing. So maybe I should get into it a little bit. It just feels like forever since I've answered all your questions. You're going to stick to opal mining, Andy? Don't blame you, brother. Don't blame you. Although I'm told that opal mining is... the mining part is hard enough, but at the moment it's finding someone to sell them to. Like, the buyers are a bit scarce on the ground. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'd love to learn how to drive a header too, but I believe there is a hierarchy, as there is with all these things. And I suspect if I was given a tractor to sit in and tow a bin along, I would be given the oldest tractor that they had until I could prove that I was capable of looking after it. And maybe something that had a softer seat and some air conditioning came available later. But I could be wrong. But I think learning to drive a header would be absolutely peak, and I would love to do that. I might have to have a talk to the Emmets, Emmet Motors through the Mallee and Wimmera and South Australia. Supply a lot of New Holland and John Deere stuff. Well, I grew up with those boys, so maybe I can ask a favour, get some lessons, and be introduced around. I don't know, Pete. You know them. We might be able to see what we can work out. Be a hell of a lot of fun, got to say. All right, I'm just Pete. I saw some photos. I haven't got them up here. Peter is in the middle of Pete from Pinaroo, in the middle of cropping at the moment too, although his next door neighbours are pulling barley off at the moment. And his crop, I think he said, was still a week or two away. And there may or may not be some garlic up for Voice of Freedom followers in the near future if you want some. Although I don't know how we go about sending it into state. Are there laws about that? We better look into it. But we'll see what we can do. Jindalee, the cast members in Star Wars had to sleep with Spielberg, including the guy that played R2-D2. That's getting a bit weird, just between you, me, and the gatepost. Even the Ewoks. I'll be more worried about the Wookiee. I bet James Earl Jones breathed a sigh of relief. He was just the voice. I can bet he'll knock on a upside pineapple, Carl, and we'll walk into a can of worms for sure. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what that comment might have been around to. I'm going to get down to the bottom here. Every time I get to the bottom, it jumps halfway back up the screen again. So you're all talkative tonight. You've got an old International forklift tractor. I think I remember seeing it when we were on your property that day. Have to wear a paintball mask to stop the stone chips and rocks when the dirt roads. Oh, what was it called? A mate of mine used to import these masks for jet skis, essentially. They were a fiberglass hard plastic mask, really cool looking graphics, dark visor on them, ideal for paintball as well, I guess. But it was meant for fishermen who were going into like little creek systems and whatnot, where you get a stick in the eye and whatnot pretty easy. So that's what I don't think they were a huge success for fishermen. They were bloody great on jet skis to protect you if you were doing long distance stuff from, water spray and pellets hitting your face and all that sort of stuff. And they might still be available. It'd be useful if I could tell you the name of them, but I can't. So there you go. Oh, right, Crunch, related to the 4-day trip. Well, yes. Very good. Okay. All right, we're down at the back of that. So, look, half an hour of me bullshitting, and here we are. A couple of interesting things that we'll just go through in no particular order tonight, because I've been a bit slack and haven't stuck them in any particular order. But Albo appears to have gone very soft on federally what happens with our young people when they get brought before a court. And the Albanese government have made it very clear to the states that they want bail to be the first option and the most introduced, most often option. They want it to be the preferred option for any children that are caught up in nefarious deeds that they may or may not have been involved in. Now, I'm pretty confident that Albo, and we all know that Albo has, well, look, I'm being unfair. It's not just Albo. It is the entire political system have been struck with the idea that the people might be onto them in this country, and that they've worn out their ability to tell lies and to gaslight us. So now they are trying to sway the voter base. And I saw this the other day, which I just thought was so apt, that this is exactly what is happening. And it's not just one nation's country or one country's people that are being brought in. It's a variety of them, but they're a variety that, particularly some coming from the Africa continent, it's just untenable with Australian or Western Christian values. And Melbourne is showing great evidence of that at the moment, with predominantly youth crime. Another break-in over the weekend, or not so much a break-in, there was a 19-year-old walking along the street with a bag or a backpack, and a car pulled up. That car had been stolen hours earlier in a different suburb, and a girl and a guy get out of that car and attack the 19-year-old, trying to get the bag off him. He fights back. Eventually, he winds up getting slashed by the guy who's carrying the knife. He drops the bag, the girl picks it up, they run off to the car, and off they run away. Both were later found and arrested, the car too, but it wasn't arrested, it was just found. The kid, non-threatening injuries, non-life-threatening injuries. However, terrifying to be walking along the street and have these thugs get out, and they were, if not immediate immigrants, then sons and daughters of immigrants, if you like, that have just come in on the boat. But these kids were not young. They were 17, I think, and 18. And it's just a symptom of what's happening in Melbourne, but in other places too. Now, Victoria is supposedly hardening up on youth crime. I don't see any evidence of it yet. I see a lot of bullshit coming from the woman who claims to run the state, but very little action. And in fact, whistleblowers are saying that exactly the opposite is taking place inside the Victoria Police Force, and particularly inside the justice system, where they've been told essentially to put everybody back out on the streets. Bail, 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 bail. And the crimes that were committed yesterday against that young 19-year-old man were committed by one fella with the blade who was out on bail for committing a similar crime 2 weeks earlier, or a number of weeks earlier. Just makes you a bit sick, doesn't it? Does me. Really makes me sick. Kash Patel is in all sorts of shit at the moment. Now, Thomas Massey has been this, one of two people who have been pushing back very hard against the Trump administration and particularly the FBI. Now, Thomas Massie is the man responsible for gaining enough signatures to get the US Congress to demand the release of the Epstein files and the 20 men with whom Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women and girls. That doesn't make any mention of the boys and young men that had been trafficked. This is something that has been attributed to Epstein, that he said, I've met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Now, that could be on many levels. In 2017, I think it was 2017, or if it was not, it was prior to that, there was a deal being done for Mar-a-Lago. And Jeffrey Epstein was part of that deal. He was looking at buying it, and he went to Donald Trump for real estate advice. And yes, they had been friends, no doubt about it. Had Trump traveled on the Lolita Express and all that? No, it's already been proven. So, but they were mates, and that's probably because he's a big New York real estate mogul, and Epstein claimed to be a big New York markets sort of player. So money meets money, not uncommon that they would know each other. Anyway, Epstein went to Trump and said, thinking about buying this Mar-a-Lago, this is, the price tag for it, and yada, 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 yada. Trump sort of looked it up and gave him whatever advice he gave him. And when Epstein left the room, Trump apparently picked up the phone, made an offer, and bought Mar-a-Lago there and then. So Epstein felt rather cheated because he was the one who was going to buy it. He took the whole deal to Trump to see whether or not it was a good deal. And it was such a good deal, Trump went and renegotiated it on the phone and took Mar-a-Lago for himself. And that's why they didn't become friends too much longer. At least that's the version that the White Hats put out a few years back. Just saying. How's your head going? Is it spinning yet? Maybe you need a Christmas break. You could come along to this at Burra Gully Bush Camp, the My Place Queensland 2025 camp out. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. December 12 to 14, $25 for adults. There'll be info, talks, you can see for yourself, lots of great stuff. If it's anything like the event that was in Victoria last year, put together by the wonderful girls down south and Darren and his crew, but particularly I think it was Doris and Becchio and Sherry and a few others put together what was a brilliant Christmas campout, if you like. So this one is happening in Queensland. If you are travelling up, maybe you're coming up to see friends and family for Christmas and you're just making your way up the coast around about that time. Burra Gully is about 4 hours north of Brisbane, I would say, at a stab. And a good freeway all the way until you get off it is the best way of describing it, like 2-lane all the way from Brisbane. Unless, of course, some fool crashes on it like they did the other day when I was trying to head to the Sunshine Coast. Then it can take a lot longer. A lot longer. All right, I'm just trying to find... I had a few more things I'd loaded up in here. Oh, yes, we were talking about Kash Patel. All right, well, MAGA is blowing up at the moment, or at least that's what they would have you believe. There are many calls for Kash Patel's resignation. Donald Trump has come out and said that he wants all the Epstein files released. He's got nothing to hide. They've got nothing to hide. Let it all go. The Democrats have even started coming out and saying, oh, yes, release them. This is going to put anybody in that investigation or anybody in the leadership of the FBI in great peril because, and Pam Bondi for that matter, the Attorney General, because they've all come out and said, well, Pam's come out and said, oh, yes, they're all on my desk just being reviewed. And then they weren't. Kash Patel said, we will release everything, as soon as we get it, we're going to get rid of it all. And then they didn't. Dan Bongino apparently was going to resign over the fact that he was not going to be allowed to release the facts, certainly about Hillary Clinton and a few other things. They were able to placate him somehow and bring him back into the fold. And now he's playing that whole game as well. So lots of calls to get rid of him, and lots of calls to get rid of Kash Patel. Donald Trump is saying, bring out the files, bring on the files. The US Congress has signed the document. The files have been released. There's just over 23,000 files to review, and these things are very difficult to sift through unless you have the kind of brain that, can look at links and sort of marry stuff together and all that. It's people with better search skills than me need to go through it, put it that way. But it is being gone through, and there is predominantly what you would expect to be the fodder of the titillating side of it all is really focused on Andrew, the former prince, and now just a frog, I guess, who is being shamed out of his palace in the UK, has had all his titles and styles removed from him. Well, frankly, I never thought Andrew had too much style about him, full stop. But there seems to be a new revelation every day or every other day about Andrew and about Fergie. Fergie is apparently ranging between deep depression and sobbing on the bed to wild parties with the staff in a bar at the back of the Royal Lodge they're currently living in. She poses a real problem to the royalty, though, to the monarchy, rather, because she could write a book and it would be more explosive, I think, than the one that the other prince wrote, who's still got his title, but maybe not for much longer. And I believe his wife is going back to work in Hollywood. Won't we all rush to see that? Maybe. Probably not. What was this one? There you go. Nothing to hide. So, yeah, he's done this huge backflip. And so have a number of Democrats, which is the weird thing. I'm just wondering why. Don't we always wonder why? Victoria, well, aren't you kicking up? Or at least the farmers are starting to. I will get Wade on to talk further about this, but this is a protest that I think happened just out of Horsham or somewhere in the Wimmera in the last couple of days. They were blocking people getting access to the farm sites so that they can start preparations, mapping or measuring or doing whatever the hell they got to do for these bloody wind turbines and associated transmission towers and other bullshit. And that was one of a number of those sorts of blockades. Now, those people didn't just turn up from town. Why? Well, because the townies and certainly the city people don't understand the kinds of impact that the decisions these city folk, these governmental shiny bums have made, these Greens who never step out of inner city suburbs and think everything looks beautiful through their rose-coloured glasses and a good latte. These people standing here blocking access are other farmers who've come to support one in particular who was getting a visit that day. But they are a large group or a large-ish group, and it is growing around the region. In fact, there is a video, I haven't got it, but there is a video of them gathered together at another property, stopping people. I think that was up near Dimboola only last week. So good on you, Victorian farmers. Good on you. And I will talk to Wade Nordhausen again very shortly. And if he's got the ability to slip on and give us a bit of an update about what's going on in Victoria with these, picket lines, I guess you've got to say. But they're very staunch picket lines, and these invaders are not being allowed onto them to do whatever job. So We'll see whether or not, I guess, in the coming days and weeks, whether or not the Victorian police have an appetite to take the fight to them. And, well, we always know that the police have quite an appetite for a fight in Victoria, don't they? Andrew Hastie could now well be the new leader of the opposition. Three rogue moderates, so they're called, the ones responsible for this move. Why? Because apparently the moderates, Tim Wilson and Andrew Bragg and Dave Sharma, they're a couple of senators from New South Wales, have said so. Now, there are two women who control the two factions that we're talking to here in the Liberal Party, and they're both denying it completely. I found it interesting that once again, the factions are being run by the women. We have an incompetent opposition leader who might be a very good pilot, I've learned today, but outside of that, I cannot see her being able to help win a Conservative vote in this country. All I can do is see her losing them. Now, I'm very conflicted about Andrew Hastie, and there are a variety of reasons. If you look at my Facebook page, you'll probably see why, because I support Ben Roberts-Smith, and Andrew Hastie is not the kind of honourable ex-service member I believed he was, and I believe that he has used his position and knowledge and second-hand knowledge at times to advance himself within the media and other political circles. And we find ourselves now with a bloke who I think has only been in the parliament maybe 5 years in a position where realistically he could become the next Conservative leader of this nation. Which brings me to Pauline Hanson. So the party best able to handle immigration, One Nation at 27%. The coalition next best at 19%, Labor at 20%, Greens down at 4%, and nobody gives a stuff about the rest. Not really a surprise, I wouldn't have thought. And Pauline, I think, would be the first one to admit that this is no surprise. She's been talking about immigration levels in this nation probably for the last 30 years. I think her maiden speech started out with just this very issue. And now, of course, instead of saying, "I told you so," she's got herself into a position where she can make a political difference, provided they can keep the momentum going. Now, some startling facts in here, in this little article. We've been through them before, but you should be reminded. One Nation wants to cut down our immigration numbers, which is exactly what they should be doing, because our nation's numbers are for shit. Albanese confirmed in its Albanese government in the 2025-26 permanent migration target was set at 185,000 places. That's the financial year 25-26. The most recent analysis from the Institute of Public Affairs found the first 3 quarters of 2025 saw the highest number of permanent and long-term arrivals ever in the history of the company. Net permanent and long-term arrivals, that's net permanent and long-term arrivals for the year to September, totaled 415,760, the highest on record for the period, exceeding the previous record set last year by 6%. Is it any wonder that Pauline Hanson and One Nation can have a 27% showing about best handled to immigration? Are they best suited to handle health? Are they best suited to handle defence? Are they best suited to handle welfare? Are they best suited to handle some of the more subtle issues like gun control. There's one you probably weren't expecting. But it's a real issue. And there are many people that could provide a vote to One Nation if One Nation provides a sensible way forward regarding gun control. And that by a sensible way forward, I'm referring to the fact that you can get a gun and you don't have to have it taken off you because you happen to hold a sheriff's badge or have certain beliefs or have done certain study that has given you an opinion that others may not like. That would be very appealing because the Shooters and Fishers Party would then come on board with One Nation. And they were good enough to get somebody else in there, but they're I think the Shooters and Fishers Party, if they haven't got a senator sitting at the moment, it's only recently. And they've always been fairly strongly aligned with the red mob Labor, of course. Don't know why. Probably because it's one of those parties that's set up by the likes of the Labor Party to act in opposition, but indeed funnel your vote to them through preferences. So remember that trick that we were shown by one of those things that lives under the party rocks, likes to play power games from behind, but never wants to be seen. One of those people. So yes, there's a bit of that going around. We don't want to play that game, not one iota. So yeah, what are we going to do? Pauline Hanson. So I'm a bit conflicted. Darren Bergworth, last time he was on, mentioned he was a bit conflicted about this same thing. As we move forward, and while neither of us believe that a political solution is in all likelihood possible, and that is not because we don't believe there are good enough people to get elected. It's because the system itself has been rigged and jigged and buggered and carried on with for some time. Oh, I bet you just lost my picture. Hang on a minute. Let me pop out and pop back in again. Boo. God, that took a while. Oh, Vincenzo must be putting up things. There you are. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. I was going to try and share a video with you. That's why it all went dark. Let's see if I can share this video with you. Now, so this is a video from Ralph Babbitt. It goes to what happens when we elect people, good people we've known in our communities all our lives and trust that they have got our community in mind when they go to Canberra. Well, Ralph Babbitt has a lot to say about it.
I'm going to tell everyone at home that's watching this right now, and I'm sitting in my nation's capital now, and I'm telling you from my experience, the people that you elect to run your country are puppets. They are not the true wielders of power. Donald Trump likes to call this the deep state. And I'm going to tell you now that the deep state is alive and well in Australia, and it is alive and well in the UK. Of course, it's alive and well in the United States. We're all seeing that play out right now. So do everything you can, everyone that's watching this broadcast, everyone that's hearing my voice, you must be more involved in the political process. You must take action. You need to be active, because if you're not active, the people behind the scenes that sit in the shadows, and they are there, that control the levers of power, they don't have your best interests at heart. And I choose my words very carefully here. They don't have your best interests at heart. These authoritarian tyrants want nothing but to see you be a serf, be a slave, be a peasant, while they sit at the top of the pinnacle of power. And they use their agents in the parliament to bring that to pass. So do not be complacent. Get active, join a party, run for parliament, make your voice heard, because the West, all of the West, is looking down a barrel right now.
Couldn't agree more. Oh, hang on a minute. Shut up, Credlin. Had enough of you today. Couldn't agree more with with Ralph Babbitt. Now, I think Babbitt's up for re-election this time round, and I don't think he is standing. I don't think he's standing for one. No, it wasn't One Nation. It was United Australia he got in under. But I'm led to believe that he won't be standing again. And if he does, it probably won't be under that banner. So I guess we'll see. Vince, sorry, I missed that one, the one you just put up. Look what they did to Desi. Haven't found him yet. Carl, have people thought of setting up lobbyist organisations so people can send in things so the lobbyist can tell the pollies what to do? Yes, I believe Punters Politics has raised $75,000. Whether or not he was seriously going to be a lobbyist in Canberra with that money remains to be seen. It might just fund him on a few more trips to put up billboards and whatnot. He's got a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. You can't go and put billboards up in towns and cities all over the place and not have a few dollars. Those billboards don't cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. They cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I have found out in the Gold Coast, and I'm imagining it's in other areas, those digital signs that are up, that put up really nice videos, and, or some probably not videos, because if you've got a road driving past one of those, they can't play a video because it's distracting to the drivers. They can play still images. But on the Gold Coast, you can rent one of those for your business for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. So if you want to have your health and fitness business on all the billboards leading into Surfers Paradise in peak hour traffic in the morning, you can, and then have them turned off at 9 o'clock. You'll pay for that, or you can have them come on at 9 o'clock when there's a lot less traffic on the road, but still a lot of traffic, and pay for that service for an hour or half an hour or 10 hours or whatever you want to pay for. So it is possible Punters Politics is doing it that way, although there's not too many of those digital signs located out in the areas where I've seen him put them up. So what exactly he's going to do by going to Canberra and schmoozing as a lobbyist for the people, that's what he's planning on doing, apparently, being a lobbyist for the people. I'll be interested, because I'm just very interested to see who was supporting him at that event that he held in Canberra only a couple of weeks ago. I have reached out, but he's not bothered reaching back. So not that I expect everybody to reach back when I reach out, but it'd be interesting to have a chat with him about it, to find out what they're going to do there. I don't think there's much more I can say about Desi at this point, unless they found him. I'm not going to do that. All right, so if I run it, it'll be called... missed that, sorry. All right. Keep it simple, stupid. Yes, Daniel, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's probably a very good way of describing what we're planning on doing with with the FBN Media Group as well. So lots of things, as we talked about last Friday night with Vince about that. Got some more things I need to talk with Vince about that too. And hopefully we'll be able to throw a few things your way, and maybe you can throw a few things ours, particularly if you have kids with some angst about being banned from social media. This is something you could film on your phone, and once you ask them a question and get the reaction, or ask them if they will react, and with their permission, you could email it to Contrib, or you can just go to contrib.vofhq.com and upload that video there, and let us know that it's your what age kid reacting to the social media ban and what their knowledge is of it and all that sort of stuff. I'm very interested to see and hear what their thoughts are on it, because, like I say, I just don't have any young people like that in my life to get their true feelings about it. And do they really give a shit? Because they could have another app somewhere they're using already that the government isn't or doesn't have covered. So, don't know. We'll see what happens. Punters Politics is left-wing, but surprisingly, we are not that far apart. Yes, I think you'll find that we are a lot more further apart than it may appear on first glance, from what I'm hearing. But we'll just keep an eye on it, and that's all I've ever been able to do, keep an eye on it and see what happens. And we've seen over the time I've been doing this, a lot of good people have kept going. Some have imploded. Some have just gone offshore. Some of them are still doing what they're doing. And I had somebody sent me the other day the invitation for membership to the Freedom Union. Folks, if you thought $2.50 a fortnight was a bit stiff for a Voice of Freedom membership, John and his crew are asking for $400. We're happy to take $400 for your membership. We'll put you in every draw from here to eternity, just about, for that. I think I'd have to discuss it with Vince, but if you're prepared to pay $400 for membership to Voice of Freedom, we've got a deal for you. There might be a cruise involved. Interesting. What age, Carl? What was I talking about there? Kids, probably. What was I saying about kids? Don't remember. Yes, please remember to like and subscribe, folks. Thank you, Suze. Believe it or not, that little thumbs up makes a huge difference in the algorithm. The subscribe, well, I guess that helps it somewhere as well. But we're not doing this to make money out of the whole thing. What we do need, though, is to grow the message. And we can also grow the message if we can sell a few more tickets in our lottery, which will give you $750 in your pocket, or a 1 gram bar of Ainsley Bullion Gold, which is, I think last time I looked, about $230 odd. So not a bad little thing to be able to throw into your kick. And we will endeavour to give it to you. I think there's about 300 tickets left in the current draw. They're $2 each. You can get them at merch.vofhq.com, and you can buy up to 20 if you so desire. But you would be helping us out, and in particular, you will be helping out Sandy and Baz at the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary. I can tell you that times are pretty tough there at the moment. They have 108 donkeys to feed, plus themselves. Sandy has got her aged parents to consider as well, and a little bit of help from some very valued team members is what's keeping them going. But 108 mouths to feed, clean, hooves to get shod, teeth to get filed, donkeys to be made happy. And if you ever want to call in, Sandy has made that offer that anybody from the Voice of Freedom family that wants to call in and have a look around, you can. You just got to understand that they might be busy, they might be doing things, and it's not really a touristy kind of thing, if you know what I mean. They'd love to see you, but if you have some animal husbandry skills, they'll put you to work. Have no fear. And I'm looking forward to getting back there and catching up with Disco, who seems to have an affinity with my pants for some reason. But anyway. All right, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you for tonight. Tomorrow, tomorrow I've got to do a little road trip tomorrow. We've been on the road today. Actually on the road yesterday. I got to where I am now yesterday, and be here for another little week or two, and then I'll probably head off to somewhere a little more special, and we'll see some friends that we haven't seen in a while face to face, I'm hoping. We have sorted out the water issue with the bus, but we do need your help with getting it re-registered and getting it back on the road. So if you can help, then please, you can donate at Voice of Freedom, vofhq.com, or you can become a member, in which case our $2.50 a month, our $2.50 a fortnight membership is the cheapest version, and then it goes up from there. And it will give you some very exclusive benefits shortly, including automatically being entered in some members-only draws that we have coming up, with prizes that will range from holidays to bullion to a couple of interesting little surprises I'll keep up my pocket. But that and more coming in 2026 for the Voice of Freedom, but only if we can keep our doors open as well. And we do that by the grace of you, the grace of God, and hopefully a little bit of sponsorship, which reminds me, if you're interested and you've been in sales, you know about sponsorships, that kind of thing, we're looking for somebody who can help us out with sponsorship on a commission basis. It'll be a very generous commission. Like I've said, we're not in for this for the money, but we do need some to keep us all on the road. We need people, number of people who are able to sell off the phone. We don't want you traipsing around the countryside, but who can write props, who can back this up, and who genuinely support what we're putting together with Voice of Freedom, but more particularly with the FBN stuff we plan to do for 2026. FBN will be a lot different to what happens here on the Voice of Freedom. The content and everything will be a very different style. So I won't be rattling too many doors there. I'll leave Voice of Freedom to be the door rattler. But we will be looking for some sponsorship. And if you are one of those people who wants to sit at home and make a few bucks, making a couple of phone calls a day, then if you've got a phone number and email, we can maybe do a deal for you. Catching up with Laura was great. Oh my God, that kid, God, Tony. So yesterday wasn't a terribly good day in Brisbane, and Laura came over to help me relocate with the bus, and we're doing some car shuttling and all that sort of stuff. And Keith had asked me if I could do a tip run in the morning with a trailer load of rubbish. And I said, yep, great, no worries at all. I'd have to go and find a tip that would allow me to take the trailer in and drop straight off the trailer. Okay, great. What's in the load? Does it have to be split up? Oh, no, it should be okay, he said. Well, it wasn't. And it turned out that Laura destroyed a pair of shoes, not very happy. Laura and I had to unload by hand a trailer load of dirt and separate from the dirt wood and cement and all sorts of old matting and polythene and God knows whatever else. What would have ordinarily have taken, I don't know, on a dry day where dirt doesn't turn to mud, might have taken half an hour to unload it. I had a shovel, like a little camp shovel that's about 1 meter long, if that. Somebody at the tip took pity on us in the pouring rain and brought over a shovel for us of theirs. We had to shovel this trailer out in the pissing rain. I slipped ass over head, wound up in the mud. Rather funnily, didn't break anything this time, thankfully. By and large, generally had a workout of immense proportions in the pissing rain before we went home, back to the bus here, and moved all of that. We both, thankfully, Laura had a change of clothes. I don't know whether or not she had the foresight, or that's just how she lives, with another wardrobe in the car. But we both had to get changed when we got back here, and covered from head to toe in mud and crap and God knows what. So, yes, we had a very great bonding experience, Laura and I, yesterday at the Browns Plains Recycling Mud Pit. There's probably a few other names I could give it, but I won't. The other thing that we noticed, and in fact, I was having a conversation today with Clayton Nevin. The Earth has been bathed in some rather interesting frequencies coming from the sun over the weekend. And he was saying in his job that there has been great evidence of people just not being on it. Now, he's an IT specialist, so answers support questions all day, every day. And when you lodge a support ticket with an organization like his, he's obviously very helpful as can be. But it helps if you actually leave a phone number where you can be contacted back again, or leave the details of what the fault actually is. And he reckons there's been a heap of people today who've rung up and not had the vaguest idea of what was wrong with their systems or how to do anything. And apparently, after a discussion with his colleagues, they said the same thing. Everybody's wigging out, being a bit weird. So if you've had a bit of that in your life today, put it down to the frequencies coming from the sun and be thankful that you're not the dickhead on the road who crashed into somebody.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!